Hey everybody! So today we're going to talk about fermentation and pickling. So way back in the day, several generations ago, people would harvest their vegetables after a long season of working. In the spring, they would plant their veggies, in the summer they would begin to harvest, and in the fall they'd do the final harvest. But what would they do in the winter? They didn't have refrigerators like we do now. They couldn't just get vegetables imported from other places. So what would they eat during the winter time? This is where fermentation comes in. People would preserve their food. Fermenting is the process of preserving food with salt and thyme. Not only is fermenting foods really tasty, but it increases the amount of nutrients, vitamins, and beneficial bacteria in our food. Now, just like our compost has billions of microorganisms inside, so do our guts. We have billions of microorganisms that help break down our food and make sure that we get the nutrients that we need. When we eat lots of fermented foods, they help with our microorganisms in our body to function better. So it's especially healthy to ferment your foods. Today, we're going to be learning how to do a basic pickled veggie. Here I have a sauerkraut I did earlier this week. This has some cabbage, some carrots, some onions, ginger, garlic, and spices. It's very spicy. Today we're doing a not spicy pickle that comes from the Mediterranean. It's a Lebanese pickle where we're going to pickle cabbage, cauliflower, carrots, garlic, and onions. You can really pickle most of your veggies. Today we're pickling some veggies that we harvested from our school garden, and I'll walk you through the process. Here I've just chopped up all of our veggies. Alright, this is my assistant Gavin. Hi. He's gonna show us how to make these pickled veggies today. So first, one of the most important things about pickling our veggies is we are going to sanitize all of the things that we use. We're gonna do this by boiling some water. Alright, now that our water is boiling, we're gonna pour that water into our jar to sanitize it. The water itself is not what sanitizes it. It's actually the steam. So that's enough. And as you can see here, it'll just keep steaming, and that steam, steaming up my camera. That steam will sanitize our jar. And we want to make sure we sanitize all of our tools. So we also want to add the water into this bowl here. And then I have some purified water in this, which I already sanitized. All right, now Gavin is going to start incorporating all of our veggies into the bowl. Perfect. Now that we have all of our veggies in here, we are going to start adding a bunch of salt. So Gavin's just going to start sprinkling salt in there and moving it around with his hands. You're going to be like massaging your vegetables, making sure they all have a nice coating of salt. The salt is actually what keeps the bad bacteria away. All right, now that we have a healthy coating of salt on all of our veggies, we are going to move those veggies into our jar. All right, so now we're gonna start incorporating our water. We wanna cover all of the vegetables that we put into the jar with water, and we wanna make sure this water is purified water. You don't wanna use tap water here. As you can see, Gavin is pushing the vegetables down to make sure that they are immersed in the water. If you want to add any other spices here, you can definitely incorporate spices. I added some oregano, some basil, and some pepper. All right, as you can see, Gavin is smooshing all of the veggies into the brine. which is water and salt, is called brine. And we have some perfectly delicious veggies ready to pickle. Okay, so now the next step, and another really important step, is time. So in order for things to ferment, they need time for the bacteria to develop. And that will create this really delicious sour flavor. So here we have our veggies in our brine. I'm gonna cover it with a cloth, and I'm gonna put a rubber band around it so that way no flies or anything like that gets in there. I'm gonna let this sit for 5 days, and then we're gonna check up on it and see if it's ready to go. All right, it's been 5 days. I'm gonna take off the cover and do a little taste test. You wanna make sure that all of your veggies were completely submerged. If some of them weren't completely submerged in water, you'll wanna check for any mold on them. This was completely submerged, so give it a taste. Okay, it's yummy and pickled. You'll know it's pickled when the cabbage has become translucent. And there's air bubbles in your jar. This particular pickle is served with some olive oil and balsamic reduction. You can eat it with bread or hummus. Yum!